Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Game Array Podcast. My name is Tim, alongside, as always, Justin.
Boy.
And this week, we got a pretty cool topic to talk about, man.
What are we talking about?
The Mandela effect.
The what?
Exactly.
Mandela. Oh, you mean Morgan Freeman?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Very good.
The
Morgan Freeman effect.
Yeah, the Freeman effect,
Yeah.
of course.
It kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
It does, actually. I like that one way better.
All right. So you're right. We are talking about Mandela effect this week. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. I'm like super into this idea.
It's very interesting at the very least, man.
It is. If you haven't heard of it, what the fuck are you doing? Go look it up. Stop everything. Go look it up. It's pretty dope. You're probably gonna have some like existential crisis when you look up all this stuff.
Dude, like I watched a video on it one time. It was like a YouTube video, like 5 minutes long. I'm like, what the hell?
You?
Yeah. But dude, a lot of the things I'm like, dude, no, that's not how
You remember.
then you have to go back and like look into things.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, it really does make you question your own memory.
Yeah.
For sure. It absolutely does. So, so again, clearly we're talking about like living in a different version of reality that a lot of us remember being in, right?
Yeah.
And it's called the Mandela effect, if you haven't picked up on that by now, right? But it's a pretty fucking dope concept, dude, and I'm really, really into it, and I really do think there's something to it. So, like, if you're just first hearing about it, what is the Mandela effect exactly, right? So, essentially, in a nutshell, it's like this concept of this theorized alternative reality scenario, right? That something, quote unquote, something happened, right? That has essentially changed either the past itself, like events or even like small, minute details that people like stuck in your brain. Especially shit from when you were a kid and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you remember certain things a specific way. And that's what the nostalgia is, essentially. You know what I mean? Like you remember things being a certain way and you liked it. So it's something either changed in the past, right? Or two realities converged together and created memories that like essentially like some people remember that occurred and others don't even remember that it happened at all. Like at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like two universes kind of like bled into each other, but only for like certain aspects of life.
I wonder if like when I was married, that like all these conversations that I allegedly had was the Mandela effect. Like she really did have it with a version of myself.
I'm sorry to tell you, man, but
and I don't remember any of it.
you just got released from a mental institution like 6 months ago.
Oh man. Thank God. I thought I was married for 12 years.
No.
Thank God it was all in my head. Good God, man. But like, I mean, this stuff, it's definitely growing, I think, currently in popularity. Like there's more and more and more stuff.
You hear about it more often.
Well, I think people are digging into it. They're trying to find out if it's real or not. You know what I mean? And like in a way, I think it's pretty cool if it is real. I don't really think that there's a lot of like, nothing's really like been dangerous so far. You know what I mean? Like none of the information that we found out and none of the things that we remember were really that bad. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's gonna like blow up the fucking universe or anything kind of like temporal issue. Like you see in all like the Marvel movies. You know what I mean? Where like every decision you make could eventually destroy the universe.
14 billion different decisions.
Right. Or yeah, what they had 13.1 million or something like that. Was it like you look at
it like some tweaking out.
Yeah. That's what it was. He's like, fuck it, the world's gonna end. Might as well try meth. See what all the fuss is about.
He's and it's like, yeah,
Doctor Strange is fucking tweaking his nuts off.
Bath salts, man.
And that's when you start eating other people's faces right off their bodies. Oh my, do you remember that story, dude? In Florida, dude, that guy like literally was eating that dude.
Yeah, he was like eating his face.
He was alive.
Yeah.
Like, off of bath salts. Yeah, because they didn't say it was bath salts to begin with.
No, it was just like zombie attack.
Other man, like, and we're taking you there live. Like nobody's
like, dude, I'm so happy I have a gun right now.
Yeah, they go, oh my god, go for the head. Yeah. Shooting him anywhere else is useless. But so, like, for example, right? Let's back to the Mandela effect. Essentially, it's named after Nelson Mandela, right? So one of the bigger theories in this thing is that many people, maybe millions, remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in South Africa, like the late 80s, mid to late 80s. Like people will fucking swear with their hand on the Bible that that's really what
Dude,
happened.
that's even in there's even things like in movies about
Yeah.
that. What
Yeah.
was it? There was like a college movie where it was like free Nelson Mandela. And
Right.
there's like they freed him already. Oh, like
Yeah.
they're even kind of this was like in the movie was like set in the early 2000s, I think,
That makes sense.
or like late 90s, I think. But anyway, yeah, they're like even in there,
There was a long period right there where they didn't make any good movies. And
no,
I think you're talking about that period of time right now. Maybe they did make good movies and somehow they got turned into bad movies and we're just remembering them being good.
all of our good movies from that time went to the other universe.
Wouldn't it suck if everything you enjoyed ended up being false?
Dude, that would be awful.
Dude, your entire framework of being a human is just disintegrates right before your eyes. You know what I mean?
Dude, that would be like, what's the point of living at that point? Like, I'm not going to try to go out and
Right.
find new things to enjoy.
It's like I was a big fan of the Thundercats. It's like, well, actually, it was the Lightning Dogs. That's what the name of the show was. Like, fuck. You know what I mean? All right, remember Voltron? Oh, that was Boltron.
Yeah.
He was moving out of nuts and
He
bolts.
was a giant. Yeah. I was going to say he's like a giant mechanic.
Yeah, he's a big like kinetics
Ultron looking
thing. They put thing. I mean, that would fucking suck, dude. I would hate for that to happen, and it might be happening. Actually,
Yeah.
it might actually be happening. So, like, if you're one of those people who do remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison, you know what I mean? You're gonna be wrong, buddy. Nelson Mandela did not die in prison. Unfortunately for you in your memory, because it sucks. It did not happen. Right. So Nelson Mandela, in fact, like you said, was released from prison in South Africa. Not only was he released from prison, but he was also the longtime face of voice of the anti-apartheid, you know, like their version of segregation
yeah,
down in South Africa, right? Which ended a scary short period of time ago. That was still a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
I mean, at least we did ours in like the 40s and 50s. I mean, they would wait it's almost the 2000s to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, good God, man, like get on the fucking train here, you know. But he, in fact, this is a fact, quote unquote fact. He died in 2013. He didn't die in prison in the 80s. He died in 2013.
Yeah, no, he lived almost 30 years longer than what people thought he did.
That's a shitty memory, man. 30 years. But if the effect is real, then maybe in their reality it really did happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to like put those two things together, right? Because we're all like the same person, essentially. You know what I mean? Like we're all like the same versions of ourselves on this earth. But it's almost like if the two realities did merge, that some people's almost like consciousness was switched out in a way.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Hey, I can't explain it any other way. Maybe I'm
like
just not smart enough.
Like you and the other you
yeah
merged together. Yeah.
Because
how else would you explain? Like, because there's some people who knew Nelson Mandela didn't die, and there's others who were like positive of it.
I'm pretty sure some
how
people
else would you
were from South Africa.
Probably.
They're like, I remember that dude dying in jail. Like, dude, it's your country's history.
Yeah, dude. Not only that, but he's also your president right now. Like, what?
Yeah, he was your fucking president. dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah, the dude was the president from 1994 to 1999 for 5 years. I think they even put his face on the money.
I think they did. Yeah. So that's the weird part about it, dude. Like, he became like a well-known, like we already just kind of said, like,
right,
anti-racist face. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was also the president.
Yeah.
And these and
he's spending money with his face all over it.
Yeah. And even in other countries, like, dude, how don't you know he's still around?
I don't know if that's such a big deal because like I haven't seen like anything larger than like a $5 bill in a long time. And if to be honest, with some of the larger bills, especially like if it didn't have their name under it, I might not know who they are. Because like who cares? I mean, really, I mean, what does it
There's
matter?
not a George Washington or a
Well, he never told a lie.
Lincoln.
That's why I always give
And,
dollar bills to people. He never told a lie. But again, if you're part of that group that does remember that Mandela died in jail, you're not alone by any means. There's a very, and I mean very large group of people that have the exact same memory. And you might be right. You might be right. So like that's the even crazier part about it is that you might actually be right. And that
yeah,
it
that's the
really
problem.
did
You don't
happen,
like
but it changed somehow.
in this reality,
Right.
it you're wrong.
Right.
It's simple as that.
And the one that matters. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it
But
really
then
is.
again, like, dude, I mean, how many different like books, TV shows, comics, all that, they always talk about where there's only a small change
right
from point to point,
right
even scientists, there are some scientists who believe in like the multiverse theory, where it's like every decision you make creates another like another universe where
right.
you like if you went left
You took a right.
and the next one, yeah, you went right, that kind of
Right.
thing.
It's the
And
opposite
there's
of any
just like
decision you've ever made.
yeah, and there's just a countless amount.
That's awesome. So there's a universe where I'm like happy and successful and got money and
No, there's not one universe where that's
thank God.
I don't.
I can't live in a reality where I have a better reality.
Yeah.
Somewhere else I
Dude,
can't.
that's where like you got to start. You ever see that movie, The One, Jet Li?
Oh yeah, just like the Highlander, like there can only be one version of myself.
Yeah, you just start going to other multiverses and start killing off all the other
If
ones.
it made me more powerful, I would absolutely do it. I would do it in a fucking heartbeat, man. But there's
See,
another thing too, like with this called like it's a little bit weird because it's like that was it like the butterfly effect?
yeah,
You change the one small thing and it starts cascading.
yeah, that's kind of the that's what was
It's
that?
like
That's
more
part of
time.
like the time travel part where it's like
Oh, okay.
yeah, like you step on a butterfly,
Right.
monsoon happens, that kind of thing.
Oh, and like what is it? The grandfather paradox?
Yeah, where you could accidentally kill
Your
a
own
family
grandfather.
member. Yeah, and then
But that doesn't make any
you,
sense. It like will literally like collapse reality
yeah,
because it's a paradox that cannot be solved. Because like if you went back in time and killed your grandfather never had the ability to have your dad, who eventually had the ability to have you, for you to create a time machine, go back in time and kill your grandfather. It never happened. So like, what is like the universe is like freaks out. It's like you know what I mean?
reality shuts down. Hard reboot,
Yeah, dude, it goes in like safe mode and ain't like nothing you can do about it.
blue screens that.
Yeah, it's like BSOD. Yeah. Like I mean, that's pretty. It's enticing. Like it's like a pretty serious thing. Like if they ever were able to do it, which I think theoretically they can do, they just we don't have the power means to do it by
I
any
think I think
stretch,
there's a
but
bunch of scientists out there who they think that
it
time
wouldn't change
travel is
anything.
like theoretically possible,
Right.
but
Well, there's also a thing that's saying that like because you already exist, even if you did do that, it wouldn't matter because you do exist. So it kind of balances itself out somehow.
I
Dude,
wouldn't want to. I
there's a
wouldn't
really
want to try.
long-winded way of putting that I cannot
Yeah,
articulate by any means.
but
It's
see,
pretty
like there's
gnarly.
like, but with this, like the Mandela effect, though, right?
Yeah.
The part I was making, like where every decision changes,
Yeah.
because this what the scientists were saying was like some of them are real minute
Mm-hmm.
things. Where
Right.
like if you were to go from this reality to the next one, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference. And then there'll
Right.
be ones where it's like gigantic, where one person's fuck up back in the 40s,
Right.
total. So that's I think where some of that could be coming from.
Right.
Is
Like if
just
the
this
Nazis won
movie
World
was
War II
made with
or
this character, or yeah, exactly.
like the dinosaurs never died off or
Yeah, then where like, and then when they bled into each other,
mm-hmm.
certain
Yeah.
aspects bled over instead of whole events.
Oh. I
That's
wonder if that's where like nope, never mind. I was gonna say deja vu, but maybe.
they.
I'm grasping at straws right now.
Amount. There's a stupid amount of times I've had deja vu,
Right.
and like places I've never been before.
Yeah.
I'll look up and I'll see the person. I'm like, I've seen this exact scene.
I have that. I'm like, you know what? God damn it. The successful version of me already did this. Another thing he beat me to. That prick.
But there is some like psychology that goes behind this
There's got to be.
theory, and it kind of might help
Right.
explain this a little bit.
Right.
But like ultimately, you have to decide if you want to believe this strange phenomenon is real or not.
Well, like
It
most
could
things
just
like this, I
be
think you have it's a personal preference. Almost like if you want to believe it because you want to believe that something's cool like that is happening, and not just boring old waking up and going to work and coming home and getting up and going to work kind of shit, you know?
the most monotonous
Oh my god, dude,
of
it's
things,
awful. I don't know.
man.
Ugh.
But like even Sigmund Freud was like a huge believer in the idea of false memories, which is where some people were thinking this is
Okay.
where the Mandela effect comes from.
So they're just like flat out not real,
Yeah,
essentially. Okay.
yeah, they're
Okay.
fabrications. Like it's
Not that it was like a tear in like space time. You know
no,
what I mean? It was just
no,
like you
like a
just like
false
to remember some shit
memory.
that didn't happen.
Yeah,
Okay. All
well,
right.
like false memory. Yeah, simply put, it's when a person or persons
Uh-huh.
remember an event that did not happen or remember the event like differently than like the way it actually happened.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like this kind of makes sense because like a lot of the examples that I was looking into were like shit. Like if you're my age or your age, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of stuff from like your childhood years,
Yeah, it's never anything from
which
like 10 years ago.
memory is really shitty, and they've proven that memory is shitty. You know what I mean? Especially like that's why like
Yeah,
eyewitness testimony is a fucking joke. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. A lot of people don't let it like. There's a move to like not even let them testify
it's
because there's been a
it's
lot
a
of
hundred
people that
percent
put
proven that it's fucking completely unreliable.
because all they have to do is slightly resemble the person
Right.
in any way,
Right.
and your brain can fill in the
Yeah,
gaps.
it's gonna fill in the gaps, man.
But because this false memory, it's not lying in a way, in I should say in any way,
Right.
right? At
Okay.
least you're not lying intentionally.
Right. Right.
It's simply the brain is having gaps in its recollection
Mm-hmm.
of an event, and like I just said, it fills
Right.
in the rest. And yeah, it does make it extremely difficult for the brain to tell the difference between reality and fiction when it starts doing that.
That's my everyday life. Because there's no fucking way that this can all be real.
Yeah,
It can't be.
because that's what it is. Like your brain is better at remembering like bad events than good events, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah,
And
and I mean,
that's
like,
why a story you tell
yeah.
will like it's like with the fish with the
The
fisherman's tales.
right, right, right,
Initially it was a 2 foot bass,
right.
and
That turned
then
into the
20
Kraken.
years later, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
it's your brain's wanting to embellish, make the memory more memorable,
yeah.
essentially.
That's fair to say. I mean, I guess your brain wants to put exaggeration on it because exaggeration is easier to
It makes it more
remember
exciting for it to
than
remember.
minute details. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
which is kind of where this is kind of coming from, where there's a couple more like factors that could possibly play an effect
All right.
and why people are potentially like quote unquote misremembering
Right.
certain aspects of the past.
Well, and I think the brain too is it's almost like I don't know, almost like self-conscious if it can't remember something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so it's just trying to
Where
fill.
it's like you're like trying to remember something and like that file not found pops up. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, your brain's like, oh shit, like I
Uh,
accidentally deleted that
um,
memory.
hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Shit, I didn't know that was a core memory.
shit, I'm just gonna all right, I'm just gonna make something up and then he'll not know the difference because I'm his brain. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You're like, you're
Who's
right, you
if he
don't.
can't trust me, who can he
Like,
trust?
yeah. You remember that giant robot invasion? Like, yep,
Yeah, 100%.
sure do. Because your brain's making it up anyway. How do you know if it's really happened or not? People
Well,
are
see
just agreeing with you. You know what I
well,
mean? That's it.
especially, dude, especially with the help
Right.
of of the internet,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
the false
Yeah.
news reports and leading, misleading photographs.
Right.
It can help your brain essentially create these false memories, and it help like in a scenario like like we just discussed with Nelson Mandela.
Right. Where you don't remember enough of it. So your brain just is like, yeah, I remember this particular thing happening, but potentially could be confusing it with another event and kind of almost
Exactly.
essentially like the two realities. Like your mind is merging two realities together. Like Nelson Mandela really was in jail. And then I did remember reading that there was like another anti-apartheid guy, like in the late 70s, that did die in jail. So it's very
Yeah. So
possible that people are remembering
through
both of
all
those
this,
things and then combining them into
they
one.
yeah, they associated Mandela with this other dude dying.
So your brain is having the Mandela effect itself.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's
See, that's fucking wild, man.
according to this theory, that's essentially what's happening is that your brain is the Mandela effect.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
That's why like
incredible.
a
But
lot of
why do so many people remember it that way? That's the
because
thing. Like, how could it like when you if, like let's just say like the one we just did, right? Well,
yeah.
Mandela being in jail and the guy died in jail. Like, how is it that so many thousands, maybe millions of people remember it that way too? How is that even
I
possible?
think essentially how it happens, it's like the telephone game.
Or like a mass
You
hysteria
have yeah, almost because it's like you have
or mass delusion? It wouldn't be
see,
hysteria.
I would have been a little too young to remember Mandela.
I don't remember him at all, except
And
from like documentaries and stuff that I watched when I was an adult.
but like the older people would remember Nelson Mandela. And
And their
like they
memories are spot
remember
on.
that
No.
he was well, no, I mean, like I said, they remember that he was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting the apartheid.
Yep.
Somebody died. And then probably news coverage stopped.
Yeah.
So then moving down, somebody says, Mandela died in prison, and then your brain makes all the connections, slaps them together.
Right.
Now there you go. Now everyone's telling everybody that he died.
Especially if you're not like a super political person, who like follows that shit like all like most people do now for some reason. You know what I mean? Like if you're not one of those guys and you're
It
trying to
would
remember
it would
something
be
that happened 10
easier.
years ago like that,
Yeah,
you
it
know what I
would be
mean?
easier for you to
And then it spreads.
yeah, it'd be easier for somebody
Yeah.
to implant that false idea,
Right.
which is essentially kind of what is happening.
Well, because it's like it's not quite like the telephone game really, because the only really aspect that changed is that Mandela died in jail.
Yeah. Well, I was using that as more an
No, I
example for
understand,
like,
but but I get where you're going with it. You know what I mean? Like a
yeah,
lot of
like
folks
one
will tell
person
it.
said
Right.
he died, and then everybody who had a vague idea or memory of it
Right.
was like, "Oh yeah, he died."
Oh no, that dude's DED, bro. He's dead. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. It's very possible
Oh
that something
yeah,
like that happened, and then you put it on the internet, and then there you go. There's the end of that.
yeah. Well, then that too. It's like the moment it goes on there,
If you read it on
now it's fact.
4chan, I mean, come on.
It's fake.
I
If
mean,
it's on, don't take any of that kind of stuff seriously.
right. The only thing I
Now,
believe on channels like 4chan or Reddit are like leaked only fan pictures. That's all I believe. And
you
even
know,
then, I'm really just choosing to believe it.
yeah, no, I don't care. If it's not real, that's one hell of a Photoshop job you did.
Man, AI is getting very good. Very good.
Now, while like the Mandela story is probably the most popular
I mean,
of
it
these
was. Let's just
because it was named after him.
right. Let's just not even
You
say
know
possible. It was.
that yeah, a lot of people have more than likely have heard of at one point or another.
I would. Yeah, I would hope so.
It's not. It's by far not the only one to exist, and like
Not even close.
essentially, yeah, the pantheon of the effect.
There really is
There's
though. There's so many of these.
there's a lot of small discrepancies.
Right, and we're gonna hit you with like the heavy hitter ones. You know
Yeah,
what I
the
mean? Like
ones that a lot of people are going to know.
right, but there are significantly more examples.
Yeah, it's just these tiny little details that everyone just yep
Yep.
and goes on about their day until somebody goes no, that's not how it is.
Right, because it's not really affecting your day to day, so it's just cool to think about. I mean, really.
Well,
And
I
it's not
think
like the
that's
alien
part of
stuff
it,
we
dude,
were
is
just
that it's
talking
not
about.
messing with your day-to-day life. It's these
Right, we don't have
small
to
little
really worry
details your
about it.
brain just happens to remember
Right.
at some
It's
point.
not what's cool about it is it's different than a lot of other things, right? Like the alien stuff we were just talking about, like alien abduction and fucking them taking over the planet and the government being involved and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Which I do believe is all of that is true. But with like this doesn't like that could affect your day to day. This really doesn't, but it gives
It
like
makes you
a
question
reality.
your reality.
Yes, that reality is something that can be manipulated.
Yeah, because like aliens don't make you question that
No,
of whether or not you're in the proper reality you're supposed to be in.
right,
This does. It's these small little things like this that'll really get you.
right.
Like the Mandela effect, and then like we just said with deja vu, stuff like
Yep,
that.
yep.
It's I've never been to this place, but I've seen that person in that clothes. They're doing that thing.
Right.
I'm reading the menu or whatever.
Yep. Either that or you're
How?
getting early onset dementia. Like, what,
Yeah, it's one of the two things.
one of those two
Honestly.
things are happening.
But like another really good example
Yeah.
of this is from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Strap in, you fucking nerds.
Many people remember Darth Vader saying to Luke, "Luke, I am your father." Right? Even
Well,
I
he didn't
remember
really
that.
say it like that.
No,
Luke, I am your father. You got to say it like like
Luke,
Mustafa or whatever from
I
Lion
am
King.
your father.
Yeah.
I'm
However
not
the
good. I
Lion
can't.
King lion would say it, that's how you'd say it.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure because wasn't that his?
Now,
I don't know. I
do you
might have made that up.
remember?
That might have been the Mandela effect for me remembering James Earl Jones doing the voice of that character.
Now, do you? I bet you. I bet you remember that
Yeah,
him saying exactly like that.
I bet you a
But
lot of people do.
again, you're wrong. Right?
Mm.
The line is actually no. I am your father.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I mean, even dude, when we started looking into this, I'm like, no, it's Luke. I am your father. No,
It's
it's not. How
not. It's clearly not, and it's right in the movie.
I don't even think it goes with the conversation they were having.
Look, I'll be the guy that's gonna be really really unpopular. Well,
You
that's
already are.
probably not accurate. I'm gonna be even less unpopular, more unpopular. How's that? Star Wars is an over fucking rated movie franchise by a substantial margin. I'm sorry, but it is. For like the first three, okay, like it was pretty innovative.
4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, like they had to do a lot with a little. You know what I mean? Because nobody really believed in it. You know what I mean? And so like with the special effects guys and all that kind of stuff, like I give them a ton of credit for what they did. You know what I mean? Because
Dude, did you know
still kind
a
of some
lot
of
of
it
that was
still
hand painted?
yeah, that's incredible, man. I admire the artistry and like the shoestring budget and making it look as good as it did because it did look good even for its time. There's certain parts right now that I think still hold up pretty good. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
for
Because
sure,
models
man.
are real, so you're like, oh wow, that looks real. It's like, well, it is real. I mean, it's not like a real space station in the fucking outer space, but it's a real
No, it was like
thing. You know what I
stop
mean?
motion.
Right. But even I remember that part. You know what I mean? Like, and like the people that believe it are like the ones that have watched Empire Strikes Back 7 trillion times, and they still will go out with their fucking
Dude,
kids
there's a lot of
with
people.
lightsabers and say, "Luke, I am your father," or whatever the kid's name is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there's a
Tyler, I
lot
am
of
your
people,
father. You know what I mean? They'll like that's not the fucking line.
even people who don't have never seen Star Wars
We'll
know
say,
that
"Luke,
line.
I am your father." Yeah, it's a pop
That's how
culture thing now.
yeah, that's how big that line is, and it's completely false.
Yeah, that dude, I know. Like it kind of rattled me a little bit when I saw that. I was like, I would have sworn that it was that, but then like I was kind of skeptical of it because I don't know the movie that well. You know what I mean?
I've
To where I
seen the
was like,
movie a lot, dude.
it could be like I because I like I said, I don't really like Star Wars, but at the same time though, it's like I've seen it sparingly. So I'm like, well, maybe it is. Maybe I was kind of skeptical with it. I'm like, well, maybe you're right because I don't really know the movie that well. You know what I mean? So it could very well me just not giving a shit like I do currently. Like, I don't give a shit about any of it. You know what I mean? But that was a big one. I
Yeah, I
bet you
think
that fucked with a lot of
outside
people,
of
man.
outside of Mandela, that is hands down the biggest example.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a like iconic line, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody gets it wrong.
Right.
If you would have said, "No, I am your father," to me, I'm like, what the hell? No, it's Luke. I am your father.
It doesn't
I
have the
would have argued
same.
with you, dude. I would have. I would have legitimately fought you on that.
I think it's arguable to say that Luke, I am your father, was the better line. They just didn't do
Yeah,
it. You know what I
but
mean?
I
It
think
was
in terms of like the conversation the two of them were having, it wouldn't have gone.
right, right. Like, oh, because he said you no. I say, oh,
Because it's
he's like,
like you killed
oh,
my
you killed
father.
my father. No, I am your father.
Yeah,
Because Luke, I am your father wouldn't have made any sense.
no,
Hmm.
yeah, because he said you killed my father. No, I am your father.
Well,
No, that's not possible. And then he jumps.
right.
So
That's a reasonable reaction.
yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna jump into this fucking like
Void
500-story, like for some reason, open chamber in the middle of this gigantic
and
death
like
machine.
5 miles up in the sky too.
Yeah,
Like
it doesn't make any sense, man. All right, man. So back to the cool stuff about the Mandela effect, right? Because that's all like brain stuff that I don't want to deal with. The idea that that like alternate realities exist is really not far fetched in any sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like it has a basis in
yeah,
science.
yeah.
Science,
Scientists like mathematically believe that they could exist.
right? Exactly. So there's a theory that has its basis in quantum physics, actually, which seems like everything has a basis in quantum physics. I don't know. Maybe that's just like the cool thing to be into now is quantum physics, but and it explains it essentially that like if you know quantum physics and you're like super fucking smart and you know all that stuff, is that there in fact is multiple timelines and parallel universes, right? And essentially like they all exist individually of one another, right? Kind of like what you were saying earlier, where it's like you make one decision here, it has the opposite effect in another, like two sides of the coin kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also like infinitely close to one another, like milliseconds, I believe, is what separates us between another reality, you know, which is already pretty heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
when you think about it like that, it's literally there could be another universe happening
right now.
near. I got the infinitesimally small
Yeah.
amount of time
Yeah.
between us and universe two.
Yeah. Yes. That's essentially, yes, that's it. And yeah. That's a real fucking layman way of putting it, but yeah.
That's insane to think about if you actually like sit down and
It's
contemplate it for a
pretty
little bit.
nuts, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's like Connect Four with your mind, dude. It's like fucking mind games. You know what I mean? Like it's legit, like hard to think about. You know what I mean? So like them being so close, right? And essentially we're like essentially like cohabitating and in the same space almost. You know what I mean? And there is the potential for the two to merge. Universe like galaxies and stuff merge all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's not that improbable. You know what I mean?
Oh, what was the name of that? There's a story. It was like the man from
Uncle.
no, it's like Tar. No, it's not Tarkov. It's the man from something, and
Uh-huh.
it's like he shows up to Japan. He came from France to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He, and
Is this
the
an anime?
passport, no, like he was a businessman,
Oh, oh.
and like he shows up with a passport from a country that doesn't exist. Nobody
Hmm.
knows this, and just real paragraph. They could find no information on him. This dude's never existed
Right.
in this plane reality. He has a whole backstory about like, no, we won our independence from this country, and we've been a country, for 200 years. That whole thing,
Right.
and then one day he just disappears. Like he's
There you
in his
go.
hotel room and he disappears.
Where'd he go? Back to France, I fucking hope.
No, the
Oh.
theory was that like he went back to his reality.
Well, they had
Like
another
he
show.
accidentally stepped into our reality,
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So I mean
where
they
their reality they had another country we didn't have.
well they had a show like that on stuff. It called Sliders.
I didn't
It,
see that one.
it's pretty good, man. It's like a more upbeat like X-Files vibe to it. You know what I mean? Where it's Jerry O'Donnell is in it. And the dude that was from all the Indiana Jones movies, the dude that was supposed to be like Egyptian, Maximilian something.
Oh,
Anyway,
that dude. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's in
Okay.
it too, and he has like a remote control It literally looks like a fucking like direct TV like cable remote. And like he hits a button and it opens like a portal into another alternate universe. You know what I mean? Where like the first one he goes to, like Elvis didn't die, and red means go, and green means stop on rocket lights. And that was
that
like
would be
there was like subtle differences, but essentially like it was like the same country, like the same wars that gotten won, shit like that. And, then he goes to one where like they never had penicillin. You know what I mean? So people are dying of gonorrhea all left and right.
that would be a
Never had them.
shit reality. Not
I,
that
I made I,
penicillin.
I made up the gonorrhea thing, but they didn't
I
have
didn't believe it.
penicillin.
I wasn't going off the gonorrhea thing, but
Oh
like the penicillin, that
yeah,
would suck.
yeah, it was pretty
The
cool,
amount of
man.
time I've been on some sort of antibiotic.
Right, but it's kind of like this, but instead of going to another one, the two have collided,
Yeah,
and like
I got
it's not like a big bang explosion. They just kind of like
weaved into each
water
other.
almost, yeah, like weaved into it. That's a good way to put it. Like weaved into each other, And if it is in fact true, and that multiple timelines and essential universes, right, exist on top of one another, then the fact that they can mix is with our current reality is possible, and it could be the reason why people are having these discrepancies about past events. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
not only
very
possible.
possible that's what's
It's
happening.
likely if they're only
Right.
milliseconds apart from each other.
Well, the cool thing I like about math is this right here. It is also impossible to prove or disprove that it's real. You know what I mean? But
It's
theoretically, it can
literally
happen.
it's literally do you carry the two or not? If you
Right.
don't, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It like no like that's the crazy thing about it. You know what I mean? It's like it's so insane in the world of like quantum physics and entanglement and that kind of stuff that you can't prove or disprove that either one of those things exists. So if that's the case, then it both exists and doesn't exist simultaneously as well.
It's that Schrodinger's cat experiment all over
Yeah,
again.
it's dead and alive at the same time when you open it up, right?
Yep.
Do
Yeah, it
whatever
was. Yeah,
the reality is, that's what it is.
you won't know until you open it.
Right. Dude,
Yeah.
that's insane. Like and I think as we're kind of like stumbling through life, we don't take enough time to stop and think about shit like that. You know what I mean? That like you're essentially creating reality as you go, and this is a good example of that.
Well, dude, there's even a good thing where it's
We're all
like
doing it together.
there's even this thing where it's like I'm gonna have a good day.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's gonna happen to me today,
Right.
and you can almost
Make that happen.
like materialize that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Where
that's
it's
called
even
The
like
Secret.
if
That's literally The Secret. Like that book from Oprah and all that shit.
no, I don't.
Well, that's what it is.
I don't watch Oprah.
It's
I've
basically
now
saying
find
that.
out you do.
Well, it's basically saying that like you can like based off your vibes essentially, right? Like that I'm gonna have a good day, positive mood, and you believe it, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Essentially, like the universe responds to it.
Well, but dude,
So
who else?
therefore, creating your own reality.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I can't speak for you, right? But I've even had things where it's like you think of something bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it would really suck if that happened. And then that fucking thing happens.
Right.
Like I do that a lot even now where it's just like you have those intrusive thoughts.
Right.
Like bad shit's gonna happen.
Yeah. God,
And
I
it's
hope
like, no, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna I'm gonna think that's never gonna happen. Gonna move
man,
on.
wouldn't it be awful if I got home and I had a family? God damn it.
It was terrible. Big old
I mean,
smile.
but that's the cool thing though. It's like, so if that aspect of it is true, right? Like if you think literally, if you think positive thoughts, positive things will happen to you. If you think negative thoughts, negative things will happen to you. That means you are manipulating reality, which is very possible for this. That reality is malleable and you can change it, and that multiple realities exist and could potentially merge. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. That it's not like a solid line. You know what I mean? It's dotted
Yeah,
with
it's all
off
it's
branches.
fluid.
Yeah, it's fluid. Exactly right. So, if what we talked about so far hasn't convinced you if this occurrence is real or not, I'm going to give you another example that's going to blow your fucking nips right off. Right? Do you remember that movie in the 90s called Shazam? Right? That starred that lovable comedian, that goofy goofball.
I do
Sinbad.
actually. I
Sinbad,
do
right?
remember that.
And he was a genie.
Yep.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, no, you don't, you dumb bastard. Because that never was made. That movie never existed. But
That's the thing, dude. It's like I actually do remember that
I
fucking movie. I
remember
remember watching that fucking movie.
I remember the cover of it. I
Same
do
here.
remember the cover of it with him on it. I mean, he's wearing like MC
Yeah, and he's
Hammer clothes and
like
yeah. And it's always
arms crossed out in front of
there's
him.
like some stupid kid, what I mean, in the front of it, what I mean, some shit like that. Like I do remember that happening, right? Not in our timeline, bud. That movie
No,
never existed, right?
this is the one thing that really got me when we started. Like I already knew of this because the Mandela effect has been getting popular,
Right.
but still, I was still like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude,
I'm sure
no, this.
everybody out there probably remembers a bit of that too, but they'd be wrong. They're going to be wrong. So this is the kind of thing that goes back to what fraud was. Fraud. He's kind of a fucking fraud, any Freud was saying is that what you could be doing is remembering a movie in the mid '90s called Kazam, right? And that starred one Mr. Shaquille O'Neal as a
Yeah,
genie that helped out some kid. I think he was like shitty at basketball, which they pigeonholed him into like you can only do movies about basketball and movies about being a genie. Like that's it. He was typecast as a basketball player and a genie. Like that was it. That's all he could ever play. And that's probably what you're remembering. Like you're combining the two things. Because I think there was a thing where Sinbad was doing like some sort of like marathon for some pirate show and he was dressed kind of like a genie or
yeah,
something
he
like
was like
that.
Sinbad the pirate.
Yeah, Sinbad the pirate. That's exactly what it was. And he kind of looked like how a genie would dress, I guess, with the baggy pants and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But alas,
Dude, I
Shazam never
even
existed.
I even
That version of Shazam, because there's
Shazam.
Shazam now.
Yeah,
But
dude, I even remember thinking back then too. I was like, why did they put two movies out about genies in the same? Like,
I
I
thought
even
the
thought
same
like in the
thing.
same year.
The same
Like,
exact thing. I thought that.
yeah, I even thought that was weird back when I was
Yeah.
a kid. I'm like, why the hell two different movies?
Well, I also would know that back then they created a game called Shaq Fu, where Shaquille O'Neal also knew Kung Fu. So
He doesn't need kung fu. The dude's like 12 foot tall. He could just
I mean,
he'd kick you.
of all
He's
the
not even
people
in the
to
same
give the
area
power
code.
of Kung Fu, they give it to Shaquille O'Neal.
Dude,
I
have
mean,
you ever
who's he
seen?
fighting? Is he fighting Asian dude? Because he's like 3.5 foot taller than all of them. He's wringed their neck.
Have you ever seen that picture? It was Shaquille O'Neal, Yao Ming, and Kevin
And
Hart
Kevin
together.
Hart, dude, it was insane.
Dude, it looks like two parents are dropping off their kid.
Yeah, dude,
It's, like it's hilarious.
it's insane, man. Those dudes are so
They're like
gigantic.
they're like they're like 2.5 times his height.
Right. Yeah, they're like two of him, like standing shoulder, like feet on shoulders,
Yeah.
as tall as you can get. But like I remember that though, man. I really do remember that. I mean, to be honest, like I always
Dude, I remember
remember Luke, I am your father. I always remember that too. But again, I'm not a
dude,
big
I
fan
even
of it, but
remember
I
Sinbad like
remember it.
crossing his arms and that that Sinbad way he has
Right.
about him.
Yeah.
He's just like does that
Right.
whole fucking I dream of genie thing.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
like a panther or something like that shows up out of
Right.
nowhere.
Because then he followed it up with Jingle All the Way. It was a good year for Sinbad.
It was. He was
Yeah.
killing it back
I
then.
met Sinbad in Las Vegas.
Did you? I didn't.
Yeah, I sure did. He was outside a Coliseum. He bummed a cigarette. That's a true story. He really did.
That's a great story, dude.
I'm sure he
I met
remembers
Sinbad
that
one
too.
time. I
He was
doubt
a
very
regular
highly.
dude. He wasn't even a genie. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you couldn't at least showed up.
Never meet your heroes.
Dude, the weird part about it is that so many people believed that he played a genie. His like manager or publicist or something had to put out an official press report stating that Sinbad has never recorded a movie as a genie.
As your genie. I love that.
Yeah,
I
like
love that.
he was
Conspiracy
getting
theory
like,
bleeding into real shit.
yeah,
Like people have to react to it now. That's
yeah.
great.
That's the part. Like it was hilarious. It's like Mr. Sinbad has never played a genie in the movie
Hilarious.
Shazam.
That's so
Never
hilarious.
has.
I love it. I love
He's
everything
never
about
portrayed or something like that.
it. That's great.
But there are like other theories out there that this blending of multiple realities did in fact happen, and
Uh-huh.
it wasn't just a random act of the universe or universes
Right.
colliding to create different versions of past events, big or small.
Right. And I'm kind of on board with what we're about to talk about, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like this makes a certain amount of sense.
Right.
And what I said, it was actually, I think it was like, what was he, like 13?
Yeah, he's like the smartest person in the world. He's like, yeah, he's like, he might be in
Yeah,
like
he was.
his 20s now, but at the time
Yeah,
he was like a
yeah, he
teenager.
was
Yeah.
like a super like IQ off the chart kind of kid.
Yeah, like a 13, 14-year-old kid.
Well, he actually put out this theory that suggests that an event happened at CERN, the massive particle collider in Switzerland,
Right. Yep.
and that when they first turned it on, like the first test run they did,
Right.
it tore a hole in the fabric of our temporal reality and merged it with another.
Which is a very fucking real possibility.
Yeah, because they're doing things that the universe does,
But has like
like
billions of years of experience doing it.
yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Like the universe has done this before, but we're trying to. But it also, if something happens, there's trillions of miles
Right.
where it's not going to affect anything. Like
Right.
you're doing this shit here, it could possibly destroy the planet.
Well, it's like if the universe fucks it up, it's like, well, I still got all this space,
Yeah,
so I'll go try it over here.
yeah. When we try it again, a couple of light
we
years
only
down
got the one
road.
planet, man. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's got plenty.
and and because of this theory, the Mandela effect was born.
Sure. That
He's
would
kind
make
of, I
sense at
think,
that point.
he was essentially saying that it didn't exist until CERN was turned on.
Right. We were perfectly fine just coasting on our own
Well, see,
timelines and never
there's a
interacting.
whole theory about that too, where it's like after CERN is when the world went to shit.
Why?
It was like because we got shifted into another reality. Because it's
Oh,
almost like a hard line where like
okay.
everything was cruising,
Yeah,
CERN turned on, and then everything, the part of the collider turned
right.
on,
Well,
and
it's
then
both, yeah.
everything started going crazy.
Right. Like nature itself was started to
Yeah,
get
then like
tore up.
events,
Right,
like all of a sudden, like the world was semi cool,
right,
and then all of a sudden that thing turned on and it just went fucking ape shit.
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, scary as that like may sound, is a very real possibility
It is scary.
and the side effect of the Hadron Collider.
Right. It is scary. And it is a possible side effect for sure.
Dude, there was even people, that were saying that there was a possibility it could create a mini black hole and
Oh,
would
is it?
swallow
What?
the Earth basically from the inside out.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, like that was a legitimate concern.
Jesus, man.
There was a lot of scientists saying we shouldn't turn that on because of that possibility.
And they still could be right.
Yeah,
It just hasn't happened yet.
well, that's the thing, dude. Is like this was an experiment that was never attempted before. It was
Right.
this like monumentous thing where it had real world outcome. Like,
Although in the collider, though, they did prove that element 115 exists, which exonerates our friend Mr. Bob Lazar. Because he said
yeah,
that's how the flying saucers flew, was with element 115. It didn't exist until the particle collider was built.
what was it? There was a whole bunch of things they found in that, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
new, like smaller things
Yep.
than
The
like
Higgs,
neutrons and
the Higgs boson was
yeah,
found that way.
and then something like what would they call it? Like the God particle or
That's the Higgs
something.
boson.
Is that what that was? Okay,
Yeah.
but so before we go there, let's give a couple more smaller examples of the Mandela effect. And,
Right.
test your memory a little bit.
So like recap first. So essentially like it could be your brain
Yep.
playing tricks on you because it doesn't know what else to do.
Your
It's doing the
brain's
best it
essentially
can with
bored
what
and
it's
it's
got.
just slapping shit together trying to.
Right. Or this thing got turned on and merged multiple realities into one.
Yes.
Cool.
And that the Mandela effect wasn't even a thing.
Until this happened.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, if it did pull us into different realities, nothing's really outside the
Everything's in play.
laws. We didn't get like T-Rexes or running around New York,
That'd be kind of cool too.
New York City.
I don't live in New York. I'd watch that. I'd watch the news for that.
Yeah. Oh hell, you did. I wouldn't go to work.
T-Rex terror in the Big Apple. Yeah, for sure. Dude, I'd
Like,
watch the hell out of that.
boss, you coming to work? Hell no, dude. You see
Dude,
that
are
damn
you
T
kidding
Rex
me right now? There's a goddamn
in
T-Rex.
fucking Central Park, bro. I'm watching the hell out of this.
Like real world Jurassic Park, man. Like,
I got 3 weeks of vacation. I'm using all 3 weeks. I'm not
You're right.
coming in
until they kill it.
until it kill. Yeah, until they kill it or it kills us.
Right.
But test your memory a little bit. The Fruit of the Loom logo.
Sure.
Now, many people, including someone on the show,
Me,
name remembers there being a cornucopia in
Yeah.
the logo behind the fruit.
I sure as hell do too.
A lot of people remember that, but apparently, it was never there.
That's bullshit. It absolutely was a real thing.
No, it wasn't.
They're Mandela affecting me. That's what's happening right now.
There was never a cornucopia behind it.
I don't buy that. I really
See,
like.
I didn't run into this one because I was never big like Fruit of the Loom wearer.
Well, it's a little bit out of your price range, but
it is. I'm more of a burlap sack kind of guy.
Yeah, whatever they're selling at Walmart on special. But this one, I do. I will fight because that happened. That was a thing.
Nope.
That was a thing.
There's a lot of these. Like, for instance, Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it spelled TUNES or TOONS?
I remember it being TOONS.
It's not. It's tunes, like
a song.
Music. Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
There's a lot of these tiny little things like this, man, that doesn't make any damn sense.
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm telling you right now, the Fruit of the Loom thing's real.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna go to every thrift store that I can find.
I'm gonna draw a cornucopia on
it. I'm creating my own reality.
Yeah.
I'm thinking positively.
Yeah.
If I want it bad
Start throwing people up in it looks like it's drawn on there.
That's what they want you to believe.
Yeah. It's a trick, man.
You're buying it.
That's the NWO.
Yeah.
They're trying to ruin your
it's Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash.
There's another relatively well-known debate of like subtle but noticeable differences.
Right. This was a big one for me too. I will admit.
Yeah, for me too, was the beloved children's book, The Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, they were Jewish. Nice Jewish bear family.
Yeah. Because all bears are Jewish.
The Hanukkah parties were fucking nuts.
Yeah. They're insane, man. But wait.
There's more.
Yeah, exactly. It isn't actually called the Berenstain Bears. In reality, the family of bears, like the last name, is in fact the Berenstains.
That's so fucking lame.
It's such a small change.
It's literally what, one letter?
One letter, yeah.
But the sound is completely different.
Yeah, the Berenstein versus Berenstain. Personally, I kind of like the Berenstain Bears. It rolls off the tongue better.
I don't want to read a book about a bunch of bears called the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
That's a gnarly family of bears. You know what I mean? Like, it's a disgusting,
dude, that's scrubby
like
trailer park.
Yeah. Like low rent
bears.
Fucking bear. And I don't want to be a part of it. And I definitely don't want my kids to be a part of it.
No.
The Berenstain Bears? That's cool because it kind of reminds me of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Also a
which
bear.
Is I kind of think it sounds Berenstain just
that's trademarked, by the way. You can't just use that. So there is no Berenstain Bear. So I'm going to write a book about a bear that gets turned into like Frankenstein's monster. That's trademarked. You can't.
TM right now.
R with a circle around.
But even Berenstain just it rolls off the tongue better.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Like, oh, you want to read that Berenstain book? Like, ew.
Yeah, no, this.
No, I don't.
In fact, get away from me, pervert.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to read
the cops?
Now, do you want to read the Berenstain Bears?
Yeah.
Shalom, I sure do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely, I do. I hate it. I fucking hate. Yeah. I hate it so much.
Well, what you need?
I hate it so much. I wish they would change it to the Berenstain Bears, and then everybody would be happy. Because even the people who got it right still hate the name.
Oh yeah,
You know?
I definitely prefer
I prefer the Stein Bears.
the fake one name. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's much
You need
better.
to go check out your alternate reality in a local bookstore. All right.
I did. And I
Like
am not allowed in there anymore.
no.
I want
Sitting there
fucking
having a meltdown.
bananas. I want bananas in the children's book
They're lying. They're lying
department.
to you.
I'm like grabbing a kid by his shirt.
Yeah.
Like, don't believe
Taking
it. I have some literature for you to read.
You get dragged
Stupid
out.
bastard.
You get dragged out by the arms. You're just screaming.
Where's your piece of shit father?
It's the Berenstein, not the Berenstein.
Berenstein Bears.
Not the Berensteins. Ah!
Dude,
It's like that scene from Family Guy.
if I could make that
replace
exact
Peter's-
scenario happen, I would make that happen. That's great. That's something that's a hill I die on. Like that's so
Well, dude,
it.
like you remember that scene from Family Guy where they exchange Peter's butter? I can't believe it's not butter with real butter, and he like goes crazy and he kills a bunch of kids and he ends up in a fucking lunatic asylum.
Well,
like,
they did that. They did something like that in Saturday Night Live with Chris Farley. Maybe that's where they got the idea. Where they did like
maybe.
one of those like hidden camera shows where he's like at a restaurant and he gets a cup of coffee and the guy walks up. I guess this is like a commercial back in the day. Where he's like, "Sir, did you realize that you're drinking decaffeinated Colombian crystals?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we switched out your regular coffee for decaffeinated." He's like it's like he's like freaked. He's like, "What?" And he's like, "You son of a bitch!" He like gets up, he like attacks the guy. He's like breaking dishes over his head and shit. He like freezing. You lied to me. You lied to me, dude. It's so great,
dude. I miss him, dude. He had the greatest.
I don't even know where we were going with that, but I like it. I like it regardless. Oh, if they kick me out of the local Books a Million,
Yeah.
I like freaking out over Berenstain Bears. Berenstain Bears, excuse me. Nah, it'll always be Berenstain Bears, dude. I'm not gonna say it. I know
I'm
it's
not
wrong,
changing
but
it
I'm
now,
not gonna say it. Like I can't bring myself to actually say it like that. And I'm never gonna.
No.
I'm never gonna. And I'm gonna correct people incorrectly when they say it the correct way.
See, and then even with like the Star Wars thing, well,
Yeah.
actually, it's no. It's like no. I'm gonna punch you in the throat, and I'm gonna say it's Luke.
Right.
I am your father.
Yeah. Kind of hard to say, "Luke, I'm your father," when I punch you in the fucking
Yeah, when you're
tracheo.
gagging on your own Adam's apple, isn't it?
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. That's the Mandela Effect. Go check it out. It's definitely worth looking into.
I mean, there's a lot of videos.
It's just fun, I think, too. Actually, it's like there's no harm in it. There's no,
You might
big,
end up
big,
finding
giant
something.
conspiracy. I mean, it's pure fun, and it could very well be real.
It's one of the few things, dude, that's like it's a major thing. Like if it is real, like, shit. But there's no like conspiracy about it.
No, there's no like negative side effects to it that I'm aware of.
No,
not yet. Anyways,
not until someone gets dragged out of a bookstore screaming at kids
about the Berenstain Bears. Like I just good God, man, I hope that happens. That'd be great
if the opportunity arises.
100%. Can you imagine the look on the face of the judge? You did what, sir? I tried to educate that dumb bastard about how the Mandela effect changed the Berenstain Bears to the Berenstain Bears. He's like, I never heard of the Berenstain Bears. Exactly. And then
then you start yelling.
My case gets dismissed immediately. Yeah. I'm exonerated.
Then you start yelling at the fucking judge for it. Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Game Ray Podcast.
And we're
if you like us,
caught up.
Yeah, we're only a couple behind, so I'm gonna get on that this week and get these knocked out. If you like us, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. If you like us on Spotify, give us 5 stars, please. That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and we love you very much. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week.
See y'all later.
Bye.